Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up.
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Stephen Bernstein on Henry Butler.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so let me ask you about Henry Butler. I've spoke with Mark Samuels from Basin Street before. Henry Butler was on there. How did that come about? He's a fantastic piano player. I mean,
I think fantastic piano player is not a way to describe Henry Butler. Henry Butler was a genius. Henry Butler was so much more than fantastic doesn't even begin to describe his piano playing, and piano playing does not even begin to describe Henry Butler. So let's just say Henry. Here's the story. All my stories are long. I have to warn you, Kevin.
that's okay.
So summer of 1984, I am playing with the Flying Karamazov brothers, the Jugglers. We did 2 months in Chicago, 2.5 months in Chicago doing a show. Then we went to the Olympic Arts Festival and we did a new vaudeville version of Shakespeare's Comedy of Errors. And then at the end of that, and I'm 1984, so I'm gonna turn 23 that year. I guess I'm still 22 years old. Yeah, summer I'm still 22 years old. We get done. It's about end of July, end of June, and the guys go, "What are you gonna head back to New York? What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know, man. I don't really have any plans. I'm 22 years old." They said, "Come up to Eugene, Oregon with us. We do this thing called the Eugene Country Fair." I said, "Okay, man. I'm 22 years old. Go to the Eugene Country Fair." I don't know if you know about this, but it's like this wild hippie,
Yeah, the
crazy.
Grateful Dead. There's a famous Grateful Dead show from there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I go there, and it's a wild experience. And at that point to life, I was open to all wild experiences. And at the end of it, they say, "Well, what are you doing now?" I said, "I don't know, man. I might go back to New York." They said, "Well, we're going to continue on. We do this hippie vaudeville traveling circus called the New Age Old Time Chautauqua, and we're going to head up to the Vancouver Folk Festival, and then we're going to go play in all these little towns that don't even have movie theaters. They're so small. This is all before internet, you know." I said, "That's cool. Let's do it." So you can imagine what kind of experiences I was having over at the country fair. So I'm still kind of like got that little kind of little sparkle around my brain, and we head up to Vancouver to Vancouver Folk Festival, and we get there, and we just kind of show up the stage, and there's a guy playing the piano, and it is like the most amazing music. He's just playing the piano and singing, and it sounds like the most futuristic music and the most ancient music I've ever heard at the same time. It sounds as if like you combined Cecil Taylor and Don Pullen and Fletcher Henderson and like the original blues from before there were even notes and everything all at once. I go like, and I'm thinking, wow, am I still kind of like out there because like I don't, my brain is maybe is like making this up. And it was Henry Butler, and Henry Butler at the time didn't even have an album out. He did have a cassette that some of us went and bought, and that's how I met Henry Butler in 1984, or was introduced to him. Then he started making records on impulse. I was a big fan. I bought the records, but I didn't know him. And let's fast forward to 1995, and I'm putting together a band for Verve Records is doing a big tour, and we're touring this thing called the Kansas City All Stars because through Hal Wilner, I had musical directed this movie Kansas City with Robert Altman, and Verve had put out the soundtrack, and it was all these incredible jazz musicians from you know Fathead Newman and Nicholas Payton and Christian McBride and Josh Redman and James Carter and Don Byron, and I don't want to leave anyone out, but it was just all these
Right.
tons of incredible musicians, and Jerry Allen and Jerry Allen had played piano in the movie along with man, I'm just had a total brain lack, but uh, the great piano player who lives in Maryland, Cyrus Chestnut, and they couldn't do the tour, and I started calling around. Benny Green couldn't do the tour. Stephen Scott couldn't do it. I even called Jackie Byard. Basically called all the people that I could think of that, Verve would be okay with, taking on tour, because it's a big tour. It's Joe Henderson Trio, Charlie Hayden Quartet, and the Kansas City All-Stars. So you have to have someone with like a name. And I kind of thought I had gone through most of the people, and I was called up
The
Hal.
Rolodex was empty, huh?
Yeah, I called up Hal. I said, Hal, man, I don't know what to do, man. And without even taking a breath, Hal said, well, did you call Henry Butler? I was like, wow, where did that come from? And I said, no. He said, well, you just put out a new record on Atlantic. It's really great. And sure enough, he put out this great record on Atlantic. I call him up, and he says, yeah, that sounds great, and let's do this. And Henry Butler came on the road with us, and and was incredible every night, and we got to be good friends. And he said at the end of the tour, he said, we're going to do something together someday. And sure enough, I'd see him every once in a while over the years, and it must have been about, I can't actually remember right now off the top of my head what year it was. Levon was still alive, and I get a call to do a concert from a producer named Jay Weissman. They're doing a blues series, free outdoor concerts with a nice budget.
2012, sound right?
That sounds probably about right. It was called the Hudson Lowdown Blues Fest or something like that down in Tribeca. And he said, would you be interested in putting together a blues concert? I said, yeah, let's do like a old time blues, because I said we could do MTO with we had just done, the same guy had done the Sly concert 2 years before at another outdoor downtown venue. I said we use the same singers, and we'll do, I'll put together a thing of early blues, kind of MTO style blues, in between, I'd say, like starting at W.C. Handy and ending with Count Basie. And he said, well, how would you be into having Henry Butler play? I said, wow, you're going to have Henry Butler come up from New Orleans? He said, Henry Butler lives in Brooklyn. Like, I didn't know Henry was back in Brooklyn. I said, of course. So we do this concert with Henry, and it's a big success. And Henry says, we should do a little run together with my music. And so I said, okay. So then we booked a gig at the Jazz Standard. We did 3 nights, and that led to the Hot Nine being created.
And then an album on Impulse. Did you have an album?
Yeah, an album on Impulse. It was the first album when they started the Impulse label, and it was released through Blue Note in the United States. So it was actually if you get a U.S. version, it has both the Impulse logo and the Blue Note logo on.
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.